Welcome back to the channel, Getting It Done Fishing. Yes, sir. Bank fishing, big bites, no excuses, big bass. All right, today we talked a lot about finesse fishing. You know, the casting of a finesse lure, weightless, and we talked about fishing it, how to cast it on a bait cast reel. And today we're going to just talk about more of the technique. You know, it doesn't matter what you're using. A Tequila Sunrise. You know, if you want to go to 10-inch worms, there's a bunch of 10-inch worms in there, or even a Pit Boss. Even like the creature, the crawfish types of soft plastics, doesn't matter. I'm going with the Tequila Sunrise as an example today. But again, I've been using a lot of the Berkley Pit Boss. Same technique. I'm not changing the technique no matter what I'm using. Still weightless, and let's just get right to it. So the key to it is, let's get over here. If you have enough room and you're fishing with enough room, it's all about going slow, 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 and slower. That's really the key to it, especially weightless. There's no weight to it. So you're depending on that sink rate based on how heavy that soft plastic is. If I go with a Berkley Pit Boss, it's a little bit heavier. It's gonna sink a little bit faster, and it's gonna cast a little bit further. But again, if you're looking for the sink rate, try to get a clear section of the water or the pond or the lake. Cast out this, kind of get a feel for how fast it's sinking, because that's really the key. It's starting to rain, but we'll get it done here. A nice little cast out there, and all I'm doing from that point is I got my cast out there. I'm letting it sit out there. You know, I'm letting it sit out there a couple seconds. And a lot of times you get that initial bite. Just kind of letting it sit out there. Kind of bring that slack in, and all I'm doing is I'm just tapping it off to the side. That's all I'm doing, is just tapping it off to the side. Come back, reel in that slack. Got it stuck on the flower. Hold on one second. And stuck on there. All I'm doing is I'm not really keeping that rod tip up. I don't want to come up because there's not a whole lot of weight to it. When you start tapping that with the rod tip up, it's going to bring that. Again, there's no weight to it besides the soft plastic, and it's going to start bringing out a water column. And I really just want that kind of just to want to get it down the furthest I can in that water column. And all I'm doing is I'm trying to, if I didn't have these weeds, as close to the water as I can. Even this is pretty high, because I'm definitely a few feet up on this bank. But all I'm doing is just tapping it. And I tap it once or twice, and the key to it is so I can have a feel to it. And I'm watching my line the whole way through, and I'm just kind of tapping it. It's very light taps. Let's go over where I can get a little bit better view. The faster you go, the more that soft plastic is going to come up out of the water. Again, I like to strip a little bit of line out because it's weightless. There's not a whole lot of weight. Sometimes that line will get kind of bunched up in there. So just make sure you pay attention to that. I'm constantly watching that line. I'm constantly paying attention to that line, because again, there's not a whole lot of weight. I'm just tapping it over. And if you can't, because there's a bunch of weeds and stuff, sometimes you got to bring that rod tip up. My suggestion, if you have to do that, you're gonna have to let it sit out there a little bit longer to sink, because you are gonna raise that up out of the water column, and that's a no-no. Kind of like I said, just kind of light taps, tap, tap, and I'm just tapping that. I'm watching my line, because a lot of times if you have slack in that line, that bass will come up and just suck it. You're not gonna feel that big hit, and that line will just take off. So it's important to make sure you fill in that, you reel in that slack so you can feel it in your rod tip. All I'm doing, for me, it's a 3 tap. Sometimes I go 2 taps. This really depends. As I'm just tapping. And the key to it is you want to feel that lure or that soft plastic. It's just 1, 2. I can feel it. Just tapping it, tapping it. I come back over. I kind of bring my rod tip down. Again, if you have like weeds and stuff, I keep it out. I'm just tapping that. Usually I don't do more than a couple taps. You just get too much line out and it starts to cause issues. But if you have to go up, I'll give you an example of going up. You have to If I have to go up, because I have, you can see there's trees, there's bushes, and there's stuff over there. So sometimes you do have to go up. If I have to go up, I still like to feel it, but it's very lightly. I'm only going up to where I could feel that lure, or that worm, or the pit boss, or whatever you're using, and I'm just tapping that up. I'm bringing my rod tip back down, making sure I give that soft plastic enough time to sink. What I don't want to do is I don't want to fish that soft plastic high in the water column. It is a very slow approach. You definitely catch more bass. It's a finesse. I call it the ultimate finesse lure, or finesse technique. And I'll kind of take it above that shoulder a little bit if I have to go high. Definitely want to feel that soft plastic. Just kind of tapping it. I can feel it. And I can actually see it. I'm pretty close to the bank and I can see it. And all I'm trying to do is just get that thing tap, tap, tap and let it sit. A lot of times those bass, when they're lethargic or they're really high pressured, it takes a long time for them to come up and, again, you see it. When those bass are like really lethargic or high pressured, it takes a lot to get them to bite. And that's why this is such a great technique to use, because it slows it down so much. You put it in front of their face, and that smell of that Berkley, I use Berkley, either a pit boss or the power worm, either the 7-inch or the 10-inch, but it has a smell to it. It gives them an opportunity to smell it, see it, and react to it, versus those fast-moving baits. Again, the key to it is when I initially cast, I'll let it sit out there 4, 5, 6 seconds. Again, it's a slow sinking, it's a very slow sinking rate. And again, depends on how deep the pond is, depends on how deep you're fishing. It's definitely more than a foot a second that's gonna take. Probably like two seconds a foot. So if you're fishing something 5 feet, probably 10 seconds, right? You got this pond's super shallow, but once I get back to kind of what's on my left hip, once I kind of get back to the center of my chest and I'm tapping it, that's kind of where I kind of stop at. Rod tip is at the center of my chest and I bring it back. When I bring it back, again, I'm letting it sink. Again, I'm giving that bass the opportunity to not only to see it, but to smell it and to react to it. And that's the key. If you're fishing hydrilla or any type of vegetation, you could definitely work it through. It is pretty much weedless. All it is if you feel that you're hitting that hydrilla, like I hit that hydrilla, give it a little bit of slack, and a lot of times that soft plastic will kind of go through it automatically, kind of sink, and you can kind of just tap it out. I'm not over tapping it. Again, I don't want this thing to be a fast moving bait. It's very slow, it's very methodical. You're just really working it. Again, you're giving the bass the opportunity. This is typically how I do it. The butt of the rod's on my left hip, and I just kind of tap it to the rod tips in the center of my chest. Especially those hot days like it is around now, all the way to the end of the year. The slower you could go, the better you're gonna be. Like I said, if I could really, and I didn't have the bushes, I would go more to the side and try to keep, again, I want to try to keep it as low or at the same angle or the same depth of the water. But unfortunately here I can't, because I'm up on the bank and I got a bunch of these weeds and stuff. But typically I want to try to keep that really low. I don't want to overwork it. A lot of people get finessed, they get frustrated. They're not catching bass. It is a very slow technique. You got to give it time. What you don't want to do is you don't want to work it really fast. The faster you work it, the worse you are. The slower you can work it, the better you are. Again, you give an opportunity for the bass to not only see it, smell it, and react to it. Hey, you know what? Since we have the time, don't forget to check out the merch. Don't forget to check out the memberships. All the links are down below. Check it out. Greatly appreciate it. Again, because there's so many weeds, or you could kind of, if you have any opportunity, go in these weeds. I could get in there. I could get a little bit lower. My rod tip is more pointing down towards the water, and that's going to help. It's going to help it keep it down in the water down. High pressure ponds, even private ponds, with all this heat, the bass are typically down at the bottom, cooler areas. The last tip I'll give you is, if you're going with a worm, you kind of want to bring that hook out. You want to go in and kind of bring that hook where you can barely see it. keeps it weedless. Same thing with a pit boss. Nice thing with pit boss, it kind of has a groove in the back, kind of hook it's, you know, stays up in there. That's even more weedless than this, but this is pretty much, you know, I would say 90% weedless. Sometimes you are going to get hung up in that weeds, but for the most part it is weedless. Gets it done. Just remember, you want to keep it down in the water column as much as possible. Slow it down. Again, reel in that slack, tap, 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 let it sink, reel in that slack, kind of wait a couple seconds. Give that bass an opportunity to see it, smell it, react to it. That's the key to it, to getting it done. All right, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to do all that great stuff. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Don't forget the notifications. Don't forget to check out the merch store, and don't forget to check out the memberships. Greatly appreciate it. Check you next time on Getting It Done Fishing. Out.